my name is Simon Hunter and I run a dance school called Simon Says Dance based in Edinburgh. I've decided that during my time in lockdown, I would start a new project called Simon Talks Dance. I'm going to be talking to lots of men in the dance industry. I'm going to be looking at choreographers, dancers, performers, and of course, teachers. I want to see how they've succeeded in this industry and maybe what other obstacles they've had to face to become where they are today. In a world where there's still so much negativity surrounding male dancers, I want to try and delve into this subject and try and make it a much more positive conversation. As a male teacher, I feel it is my purpose not only to teach the next generation of dancers, allowing them to feel the joy of dance, but also to make them see that dancing is an acceptable and a safe place to be. The dance industry would not survive without males, and with so much support behind similar campaigns all around the world, I felt this topic is something that could be spoken about on a more local platform that's a little bit more interactive as well. So today I have been very lucky to have with me today someone who I admire hugely. This is Ronan Burns. He is 25. He has trained at Ssd down in London. He has played Riff in a West Side Story production recently. And he has also done Titanic on a European tour, Kiss Me Kate, and of course he did 42nd Street in the West End. So I'd like to introduce to you Mr. Ronan Burns. Hi, how are you?
I'm good, how are you?
Yeah, good, thanks. How are you enjoying being locked down?
It's all right, actually. It's not too bad. I'm back with mum and dad, and they are pretty chilled, so it's nice to spend time with them as well. So I've moved back from London. So.
Yeah, and also London's quite a busy way of life. To come back to Edinburgh anyway is quite chilled, but then to be in lockdown is completely chilled.
Yeah, but it is good because like you said, like London is so full on, and you just kind of like constantly on the go. It is nice to just be like, okay, so I'm doing a jigsaw today, and I'm making iced lattes today, and I'm doing nothing. So
It's so true. It's a funny world. It's almost like we've all had a wee time to like take a step back and be like, what do I like to do?
Yeah, and it's taking time for yourself. Like I do think I mean, as much as like normal life, you're seeing friends and things, but that is like it's a two-way thing. It's like you've got to try and catch up with friends and things like that. Whereas actually, it's quite nice to be like, okay, so what do I really need to do today? I've read my first book as an adult in the last few weeks. Do you know what I mean?
I know, it's funny. I only read on holiday, but yeah, even now I'm like, oh, I've read a book in my Kindle. Oh yeah, feeling good. It is funny what you find you can do when you actually have to achieve it. And I saw that you were dressed up Tiger King style.
Don't. Do you know what's funny, right? Is that everyone thinks that my TikToks and like the fancy dress Tiger King is me. It's not. That is full Elaine Burns. That is my mum, like coordinating it down to a T. Like she's on the floor with the tiger, being like take a photo of me like this. Like she gives jokes. That's the best thing about quarantine. That my mum and dad are mad. Like we're having a good time.
But they've always been like that. They've always been your number one supporters as well. They've always had your back.
They are. I mean, they are the greatest. I couldn't have looked out better, but they're mad. They really are mad.
Oh, and they'll love when they watch this video. They'll agree with that, to be honest. Well, actually talking about that, having a supportive family, I feel like for this chat, that's really quite a good starting point for a lot of the young male dancers in this industry. I feel like to have that support from home is such a good starting point, and I feel like maybe a lot of people have got that, and maybe they have had somewhere to start. But obviously your mum did a lot of performing as well, so was that kind of maybe where you started, where you got your inspiration from, or how did you maybe start?
Definitely, like my mum's loved musicals like as she's grown up. And then just when my mum, I didn't know when I was 8 months old, my mum wrote in like a little book being like, Ronan is going to be a performer. She knew at 8 months. And then from that point she was like, I just watched The Sound of Music growing up and like Calamity Jane, like all the classics. And then like, I remember going to watch The King and I when I was like 5. And we were just always at the theatre. So my mum really kind of got me into it all. And then, you know, along the way, I just kind of like, dancing, this, that, whatever. And it just kind of, because my mum and dad were just so like, if that's what he likes to do, that's what he likes to do. Like, I was just not interested in football or anything like that.
Yeah.
I mean, so
And that's so good that they were so supportive and they kind of embraced it from 8 months and tried to push you in the right direction to help you. And I feel like I know that a lot of these chats I'm having are with people who are more in the dance world specifically, but you are a musical theatre performer. You do a bit of singing, dancing and acting, and that's what you've studied in. But going back to when you first started, like you say, you did like a little bit of Amgrab and stuff to start with, but when did you kind of figure out that this is what you wanted to do maybe more as a career?
I mean, this is the thing that I actually wrote when I was in primary 2 that I wanted to be an actor. I don't think it was like serious until like I was probably primary 6, I think, was like when I was like, so I was lucky enough to do Chitty Chitty Bang Bang at the Playhouse. And I did that for like 3 months. And I think seeing all the adults and, you know, like coming in every night and knowing it like as work. Yeah. I think that at that point I was like, okay, this is what I want to do. And that's when I really started to look at like going to Knightswood in Glasgow, like when I was that young. And I just kept on putting it off because you can start Knightswood in first year. And that was kind of the first point where I thought, well, I might go in the first year. Put it off and then went in my 5th year. But that's when I really, I've known for such a long time that I've wanted to do this as a career. But I properly, like, I didn't start dancing really though, like properly until I went to MGA when I was like 13. Yeah. So and when you went to MGA, what did you start? What kind of bit classes did you start with when you went there? So they just had Saturday dance classes at that point. So I did like an hour of tap, ballet and jazz with Murray. On the Saturdays. So this is like before the part-time course and everything happened. Like I was just there on a Saturday. And then they had stage academies and then I did that. So I did like the 3 hours and the stage academies. Yeah. And then Fierce and then everything kind of happened. And then I was just there and at LY all the time. Yeah, and LY was such a starting point for so many people in their career. I think it's such a magical place, LY. Yeah, I mean, I was there for like 6 years. And like I'm there and MG, like the happiest days growing up. Like it was just such a safe place because you would like, it kind of felt like Hannah Montana. Like I was living this like double life. Like at school, I'd be like, you know, living that life, just being quite quiet. And then you would be like, oh, well, at least I know like on a Wednesday, I've got dance rehearsals at LY and Tuesday I've got part-time. Like it's just like really nice sort of like places to go and just like be yourself. Yeah, and that's really so good. I think that's exactly the point that loads of people are saying. It was almost like you had your own little community that you were like, oh, this is actually me in my real life, but you had to be at school. So you kind of had your school life and then you had where you could be you and you could express yourself and you could have this group of friends that no one else had. It made it a little bit more special. Yeah, that's what, and that's what I'm so grateful for, like growing up, because you can go to high school and there's no problem with it and just be friends with people from one school. And the only thing that like brings you together is a postcode, really. Do you know what I mean? Really agree. Whereas, do you know what I mean? I have friends like from growing up from all over Edinburgh that we wouldn't necessarily have met each other. And like even now, like I've got friends from all over the world just because we live in London. Like it's just like dance and theatre as a community is the most amazing thing. Like even as an 8-year-old, you meet so many. I mean, I met my best friend Abby like at Amdra. Yeah. I mean, like. And she's from Leith and I'm from like Christorfin, like opposite ends of Edinburgh. We would never have met if we hadn't done it. So lucky. No, you're so right. And I feel like it's just about finding your tribe, isn't it? It's almost like finding who's got the same interests as you, not just because you live near them, but actually who you're going to have this special friendship with. I feel it's so true. So what I was going to speak to you a little bit about is obviously you have done so many amazing jobs like I spoke about at the start when introducing you, but I feel like you've probably got a highlight in your career that you would probably say like, that's it, I've reached my goal. Where do you think that point landed? My biggest like point where I was like, this is just crazy was, so I did 42nd Street in the West End. And I think at that point, that the opening night, when on like 50 of you on a staircase in gold tap shoes and you're just tap dancing to Theatre Royal Drury Lane, sold out, 4 levels, like 20 odd piece orchestra. It was just like, I couldn't believe it. I think that's when I was just like, this has happened. I'm getting emotional now, like thinking about it. Like it's just so, you work so hard, because you do work hard. You have to say it, like you do work hard. It's not easy being a performer, and it's not easy going to all these hours of dance classes and things. And then suddenly it's like, I'm on the West End and I'm in the biggest show in the West End. Yeah. And like it's history, like 42nd Street's such a big history piece of musical theatre. And yeah, that was that. But funny story about the opening night of 42nd Street. Okay. Was there's a massive quick change getting into the stair dance. Okay. And my gold tap shoes, the shoelaces weren't tied properly. So I only had one gold tap shoe on for the stair dance. And we weren't really meant to go on if we didn't have it. But I was like, this is my West End debut. I'm not going on the stage. So I did this full tap number with one gold tap shoe and one sock, and the sock was flying around. I was not doing it. I was like, it has to happen.
But you've worked so hard, like you say, and also that's a really good point. I always think about this in the way of like, if you're a very successful builder, you don't technically have to have gone to classes from the age of 3, 4, 5 to become the best builder. But as a dancer or someone who's in sports or someone who does a hobby, it always starts as kind of a hobby that they then build upon, and they put hours into it to become this person. If I was going to be an accountant, I wouldn't have at age 5 gone to accountancy classes. So I almost feel like you have worked so hard from being this young kid dancer or a performer all the way through to that point. So that's obviously a very big moment in your life, and I'm sure you're going to have many more in your career once all this blooming corona is over. But you've got this far, and it's so exciting that what you've achieved when you say, oh, I'm just a small town boy from Edinburgh, and now you're dancing on the West End with one shoe on.
Yeah. Crazy. And it's just that, it's also that thing like you've worked hard, but then also like Lisa, my family are so supportive, and it was like my mum and dad, my brother were all there, and it's that thing of like, it's a collective family thing as well. Like they've sacrificed a lot for me to do what I do, and they, like, bless, my brother has had to come and see so many musicals, you know, and he likes it, but he's not like a fan. Yeah. And it's just like, it's a celebration of like what we've all done together. Do you know what I mean? It's not as much as it's your journey. It's a journey of everyone that you've met and that has helped you along the way. It's special. Yeah.
No, you're so right. You're so right. And also the amount of money that they've put in behind this as well. Dancing is not performing is not an easy industry to be a part of. All the classes and the training and the kit, it's such an expensive thing. So for it all to almost do a full circle and actually you have made it, it must be so amazing for them to see that.
Yeah.
It's so exciting. So exciting. So what I was wanting to speak about a little bit more is maybe some of the sides that you find a little bit harder in this industry. So before you even got to the college kind of stage, I think a lot of people find that the primary school is fine, you're safe, you're in this safe little bubble. You go to this high school when you're surrounded by people who don't know you, and this is where issues start to arise. Now, that's what happened for me, but did you have anything similar that you had to deal with?
That's exactly kind of like how it went down for me. Like, you go to primary school and everyone knows you as the theatre kid, as the person that, you know, likes to sing and dance. And you go to high school and then suddenly people are like, what is this? That's kind of odd. And it's hard. It is hard. And like, I used to get like, you know, are you a girl? And people would be like, oh, are you a girl in the corridor? And you're like, when you think about it now, it's so silly, but it hurts. It does hurt. And I don't know, when I do think back though, I was quite resilient. I actually have to say, like, I had a hard time, but I was kind of like just brushed it off. I was like, well, yeah, I am the dancer. Do you know what I mean? That's just, but it can take its toll, and it's hard as well, because there's so much happening at high school, because you've got your exams and there's like social pressures and everything's happening. It is a difficult time. So it just kind of all accumulates at once. But
then at what point did you think, okay, I can do this, I'm going to keep going with this, and I'm going to stand out from the crowd, and I'm going to commit to this, no matter what I get said, or no matter what names get thrown at me or whatever, I will commit to this? Was there kind of like a point you thought, I'm going to do it, or were you always just, like you say, quite resilient and just thought, I'm going to continue with this?
I think it was the support from different people. I think, like, I genuinely think if people have been saying to me, like, if people hadn't been saying nothing to me, I would have probably maybe stopped. But I think the fact that I had, like, you know, such great supporters at MGA and like my dance teachers and LY and my parents and stuff saying, no, you are really good. Do you know what I mean? And people saying like, I can see him having a career. I kept on working hard because I knew that it was achievable, but I feel like maybe if I didn't have that support, I'd maybe have stopped.
And then
I'm quite stubborn, so I probably would have just wanted to do my own thing. So.
But also that's good when more people say you can't do something or don't, or like question you, it almost makes you be like, watch me.
Yeah, it can work both ways, can it?
Yeah. And then obviously you then went to Knightswood during Glasgow, and you said that you went in 5th year. So you had to completely move away from home. You had to change your life. How was that the next stage? Like, how did that change for you?
That was kind of like such a relief, because I finally, like, Knightswood's kind of like this sort of like fame school. Yeah. Like everyone's just kind of like gets it, because obviously half the schools like normal students and half the schools dance students, but the normal students have always known the dance students, so they kind of chill with it. The teachers chill with it, and you get to dance and sing all the time. And I can't remember what you actually asked me. I'm just going to remember.
It was just the fact that, did you find it like a big change of being in your high school with people that you knew?
It was massive, and it just kind of like, I just felt normal. I felt completely normal at that point. I was like, this is what I want. And it made school a lot easier actually as well, because I wasn't actually having to like divide my attention on the two. Like, it was all just kind of like, I can do it all at the same time and it's fine. There's no sort of pressure on either side. So
do you kind of regret not going earlier, like in 1st year or something, or are you happy with what you did?
No, I wouldn't have been able to cope.
Yeah.
I'm such a home person, and like I'm a mummy's boy. Like, I wouldn't have been able to be away from home at the age of 12. I think like it takes a certain type of kid to do that, and the kids that did it, bowed down to them. Like, I don't know how they managed it. But by 5th year, like, I was more than ready to, like, you know, have independent living, and it wasn't easy, but it was just a lot better.
Yeah,
for me.
No, I totally agree. I think it was almost like a stepping stone, obviously, to then, as your next chapter, to go to London. It was almost like that one step to then get ready for that.
Because you aren't independent living. You're at boarding school, but like, you're not with your parents. Do you know what I mean? And you kind of, I got like pocket money for the week, you know. So like, I was starting to like learn how to, you know, budget my money and like traveling, and like I then like planned all my auditions for London myself and paid for like the hotels and the trains and stuff. So I started to like learn what it is to be like an independent adult at that point, which was good.
And then that led on to being an arts ed for 3 years. So when you went there, obviously being up in Edinburgh and Scotland and Glasgow, you're almost like one of very few who perform in the industry as a male, especially musical theatre male, who can do a bit of everything, to then go to somewhere where everyone can do everything. How did that feel? Was that transition like a massive step of being like,
It is like, it's just a bit, it's because everyone's from everywhere. That is the thing. You're like, okay, so suddenly you've gone from, like you said, like being like here in Scotland, and then it's like, okay, well, then you've got like everyone from England, everyone from Ireland, all those Welshies that can sing like nothing else. It's difficult, like, and you just kind of have to find your niche though. And I think like that's like a massive part about being a performer. You have to be realistic and know what you're good at. And I was very quick to kind of like, it's daunting at first because you don't know what anyone's good at.
Yeah.
But when you start to be like, okay, so I'm not as good as them at that, and I'm not, but I've got this and I've got that. Like, that's when you start to like find where you are.
Yeah, and that must be hard. And for up here in Scotland, when you are thought of as the boy who can sing and dance and act, but in actual fact, you might just be a big fish in a small pond. But down there, then it's like, oh, well, they're much better at hip hop, or they're much better at their technical ballet. I kind of fit in the middle. It kind of makes it finding your brain.
100%. It's like you're all on varying levels of like what you're good at, and like it's kind of essentially is what you have been practicing the most. You know, I was doing a lot of Amdram, so like my general good skill was kind of like merging them all together, whereas, you know, there's some people in my year that had danced all the time. So were far better dancers than I were, but they hadn't really, you know, put the acting into the dancing before. But the wonderful thing about drama school is that everyone does come out at the same level, which I don't know how they do, but at first everyone's on like a completely different playing field. It's an odd first couple of months when you go to drama school. It's like, I don't know what I'm doing now. This is like so weird.
It's cool though. And then when you finish, then that's just the start of it, really. You finished your 3 years, and then I think if you were a primary teacher, you'd then go and have your probation year, and you would then start to build up. As a performer, it's like, boom, here's your world of, you have to audition now, you have to go and find yourself a job now. And how did that obviously being the next step. As a male, how did you feel that worked for you, going to calls with other males and stuff like that? How did that work out?
That's I have never been so nervous auditioning, like when you first graduate, because you go to, when you're at drama school, like a lot of your like mock auditions, they're either, if they're with the boys in your year, by that point you've been with them for 3 years, so you know where you are in the pecking order.
Yeah.
And or they're mixed calls with the girls, and then you suddenly graduate and you're in a dance call with people that you've seen in the West End.
Yeah.
I remember, like, for my 42nd Street edition, I was literally next to two people that I, like, really admire. And I'm, like, this was one of my first editions at a drama school, and I'm like, oh my goodness, like, this is really daunting. And, like, you're with men as well. Like, at that point, I was 20, turning 21. You're with guys that have been in the industry for 10 years who can dance circles around you, and it is hard, but eventually you do get used to it. It just becomes normal. And then I was really lucky that I got a job quite quickly at a drama school, playing a child, because I looked so fresh and young at the time. And it's that thing, when the ball's rolling, you kind of start to have a little bit of confidence. You're like, oh, well, I've managed to get a job, so I obviously have something. But the competition is hard, and sometimes it goes your way, sometimes it doesn't, and sometimes nerves really do kick in, because there's some of the boys are just phenomenal. Like, they really are phenomenal. So. But
then what also I find funny is that they might be looking at you thinking, oh my god, he's phenomenal, I've seen him in X, Y, or Z. So it kind of works around in circles, doesn't it?
Yeah, I'd like to think so.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I'm sure there's lots of younger boys that were maybe a part of MG or LY that will have always looked up to you. Even as me being older, when I was a part, I was like, oh my goodness, he's so talented. So everyone does kind of look up to each other, and that's kind of how the industry works. Everyone aspires to be like someone.
Yeah. Like, and when I say like these, it's daunting. It's only daunting because you think it's daunting. It's no one actually makes the atmosphere like feel, you know, like in films they make it look so competitive and like, everyone's really nasty. Like, it's not. Like, half the time I am having a laugh in audition. Like, it's so much, it's fun, and like now it is. And even at the time, like, you feel the pressure yourself, but no one's actually putting the pressure on you. It's actually this atmosphere.
You're right. And also, you probably will get to know a lot of the same faces that are going to these things. So it almost becomes like a free class that you're getting to see with your friends again.
Yeah. Honestly, I've got some friends just from auditioning.
Yeah.
If you put our headshots together, we all look the same. So like, I'm like, oh, like, why were you not in my audition last week?
Well, that's cool. That's cool. It's like creating a little bond of people that are similar to you as well, which is cool. Which is really cool. Now, one thing I quite like to ask is, if you could have go back to when you started or younger, is there anything that you kind of wish that you'd maybe done that you didn't do when you were younger?
Oh, that's a hard one. I mean, just do you. That's the most important thing. And I do think I did do that, but I think I could have done it more, and just like really trusted in myself and not let what people say bring you down as much.
Yeah,
I think as long as you live your truth, that's all that matters. And like, unless they paying your bills, don't pay them no minds. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's not their life, it's your life. Do you know what I mean? And also, I always, like, now thinking back, people that would give me a hard time, you're probably thinking they're actually just jealous that you found something, because it's such an odd thing for someone to have such a passion for something at such a young age. Those people that probably are making fun of you, do you know what I mean? They're just a bit upset that they've not found that thing yet. And you should feel ashamed. You shouldn't feel ashamed for like being passionate about something.
Yeah, and that's what makes you. It makes you stand out. It makes you different from everyone else. And you're right, maybe it's because you found that from a younger age that maybe the jealousy kind of falls into that. That's a really good point of view from that. Yeah, that's great. So if you had one piece of advice, so say there was a boy who's maybe in that stage of started high school or kind of at that age where things are all starting to change a little bit, and especially with social media and everything, it's a much harder time than when I was at school. But if you had a little bit of advice that you could give to someone that age who maybe doesn't even want to have a professional career in this, but this is what they do as a hobby, this is where they've got their group of friends, what would you maybe give them as a piece of advice to maybe like to continue and know that it's okay, it's normal, this is acceptable?
I think the fact that you're doing these interviews with boys that dance is just living proof that it is worth it, and like just keep going. Like, even if you don't want to do it as a career, I just think dance is such an amazing art form, and it gives you so much like pleasure as a human. I think that the music and moving your body is so great. I don't know, I just say keep going. Like, just try and persevere through it all, because the benefits of it are, as an adult, it's just you couldn't pay for it.
You're so right. And in a lot of these studies I've looked at or done research in, a lot of the studies are saying that no matter what they had to deal with growing up, once you reach where you need to be, it kind of almost falls away. Like, it's not as important. You'll remember it, but it's almost made you who you are to kind of get to the end. So it's kind of worth it.
Because like when you've like been speaking about like doing this, like that's what I thought. I'm like, I actually don't really remember what that was like. And I know it's so much easier said than done, but it is such a small amount of time. I remember like when I was studying for standard grades, just didn't want to study. My mum and dad were like, it's 6 weeks. And at the time, 6 weeks seemed like such a long time. But now, like 6 weeks, we've been in lockdown for longer than 6 weeks. And for me, it's gone by so quickly. Like, it's such a small amount of time, and you can, like, you're a lot stronger than you think. I think that's an important thing. Like, you can be more resilient than you think. We're strong.
You're so right. And I think as well, at that age, everything seems to be such a big deal, doesn't it? Everything is like so much more heightened. And I get it, at that stage, I probably had the biggest dramas in the world. But looking back now, I couldn't tell you what one of those things were. But now it's funny because, like you say, the people who maybe picked on you or hated on you are actually now applauding you. So it's almost like it comes around in a full circle, and it is all worth it. And they will appreciate that you have worked hard to get where you need to be.
Mm-hmm. It's that thing as well, like you always see like on Facebook, like people constantly sharing dance videos that like not even necessarily friends, and not that they gave me a hard time, but like friends from school. Like people are in awe. It's like if I was to watch a skier, do you know what I mean? Like, I'm in awe of what they can do. Do you know what I mean? The fact that you've got a special skill is phenomenal. People, like, when they're older, they might be giving you a hard time when you're 14, 13. But trust me, when they're 25, they'll be looking at a video of a guy tap dancing and going, that is cool. But how can someone move their feet that quickly? And it's just time. Give yourself time, because trust me, it's worth it.
No, you're so right. And one last thing I'd like to just quickly say is, for me personally, I know we spoke about your mum a lot, but I remember the exact moment where she kind of pushed me into this kind of side of what I was doing as well. I was doing I think it was the LY 10-year show, and your mum spoke to Murray and Andrew after at MG and said, you need to get this boy to come and audition for Fierce. And from that day on, like, I kind of just kept following it. So it's actually down to your mum quite a little bit that I've managed to do it. So yay!
She's your number one fan. She literally before this, she was like, "Since I am alive."
Oh, she's just so proud, isn't she? And actually, we were performing at an event last year, and she was also performing it as well. So she was singing and we were dancing. So that was really cute as well. She's the best.
That's best. But also, like you say that, like for me, growing up, like you were obviously like an older kid at LY. Like you are one of the main reasons why I was like, oh my god, like he's just so cool and he can dance. And that at 8 years old, I was like, I want to be Simon. I always wanted to be you with your little blonde streak at the front.
But you also don't think that that's so funny, because this is what I always say to my kids. You don't know who's looking up to you. You just think that you're doing you and you're looking up to whoever you're looking up to, but you don't realize that. You don't realize that you're actually helping and influencing and inspiring other younger kids to be more like you. Exactly. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to spend talking today. And like I say, these conversations are I just want it to be, I know that there's lots of things out there in the world, in the media, about boy dancers and boy performers, but I think this is much bigger. I think it's more just a fact of maybe not fitting in, into something and being an easy target, and how to try and look at these bad times, but how we can kind of keep going and prove to ourselves that we can do it. And I feel like if we can have a conversation just friend to friend that maybe will inspire one or two other kids to maybe do it, I think that then as people who have been in this industry, seen the hard times, it's proof that you can do it.
We can.
Woohoo! Yeah.
Go on.
Well, thank you so much. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put in some stuff for you, some videos. I think we're going to get in some pictures of you in the performances, and hopefully everyone has enjoyed this. And yeah, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
See you soon.
I'll see you soon.
Bye. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch Simon Talks Dance Today with Ronan Burns. Hopefully you've enjoyed getting to know him a little bit better and to see what his story has been like in this dance industry. Now, if you would like to see anything specifically on this channel, I would love for you to give me some feedback on maybe things I can improve on, or if other people that maybe you'd like me to interview. If you've got any questions specific that you'd like to ask, then please let me know. You can send us comments, you can follow us on our social media, on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and you can let us know what you think. If there's anything else you would like me to look at, I'd be more than happy to do this. So thanks once again, and we'll see you in the next one.